Hello and welcome to another episode of my YouTube channel, Kaya Kaynak 97. I am joining you from yet another hotel room. This time I'm in America, in Washington, where I landed yesterday. As you can see by my slightly tired exterior, I'm still struggling a little bit with the jet lag, and apologies for the weird setup in the room. I had the curtains open before and it didn't look very good. And I was hoping to do a really cool live for you guys outside the Capitol. That was the plan. I was going to have the phone up and do all of that, but the weather has conspired against me because it is raining. It's just like being back in London. Grey skies, quite warm, a little bit muggy, and it's raining. So I'm in the hotel room for now. We're going to go out and explore a little bit more later, but for now I'm here, and I wanted to speak to you guys before doing any of that, fill you in on what's going on. And as always, we start these videos with a massive thank you to everyone who is watching and subscribing and liking and all that kind of stuff. You can see going across the bottom of the screen now is where you can find me on all other social medias. And for those viewing on podcasts, it's at Kaya Kaynak 97 on Facebook, on Twitter. Facebook is Kaya Kaynak Journalist, and both Instagram and Threads are at Kaya Kaynak FL. Just a quick update on how the channel is growing. Amazingly, we're up to 2.8 nearly subscribers and 2.8 thousand subscribers, which is just amazing. I'm humbled so much every day by how much this keeps rising and how much support I'm getting from you guys on this journey. It really, 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 really matters to me. It really, really makes me feel good about what I'm doing. So please do keep getting involved. Please do keep subscribing, liking, sharing, or whatever. Thank you again for getting involved. And I guess we'll start in this sort of slightly weird circumstance where I do look a bit like I'm in a hostage situation. So apologies, but yeah, like I said before, weird situation going on in terms of the weather, which I thought would be a lot nicer, but c'est la vie. Yes, so we're in America, and I am in America where I'm going to be joined very soon by the Arsenal team, who took off around 2 today. But conveniently, as I was flying yesterday, so it's been a weird case for me where across the past couple of days, I've been on a lot of flights. So I went out to Germany on Thursday, flew back on Friday, and then flew to Washington on Saturday. And on the flight back from Germany, Arsenal announced Jurrien Timber while I was in the air. And I'll come on to that a little bit more. And then on the flight out from London to Washington, they announced Declan Rice. So this is my first chance to really talk about Declan Rice, and I am going to get into it now. There are the pictures that we all wanted to see. They were at the Emirates on Friday doing all of that stuff. And Arsenal got back on Friday morning. Arteta got around. So I think it was Friday they were doing all this stuff at the Emirates. It may have been Saturday. I'm pretty sure it was Friday. And Arteta got around there pretty much as quick as he could to go and help out. And yeah, the culmination of a month's long saga now. So we first found out about this in January? And that's my understanding is when sort of Arsenal first made contact with Declan Rice. It's my understanding they first sort of moved ahead in the race. And the man on the left of that picture there, Mikel Arteta, he was very key in that. Made a presentation to Declan Rice, made the effort to go around to him and show him back in January, this is how I see you. This is what I want for you. This is how I view the club. And I think at his house. And the plan was at that point to convince him. And it was interesting because for Declan Rice, for so many years, it seemed like he would end up at Chelsea. He was a Chelsea Academy kid. His family are Chelsea fans. And it seemed for a long time like that would be where he was headed. And the reason for that was the obvious connection. And Chelsea had shown interest a few times. Thomas Tuchel wanted to bring him into Chelsea. He wanted to bring him in last summer. And then obviously he was let go and Chelsea's recruitment strategy was a bit of a mess. And I think once Arsenal got themselves back in the Champions League and once Arsenal got themselves into a position where they would be able to get a player like Declan Rice, it was pretty much down to whether they wanted to make the move, and they decided they did. And from that point on, it's been a club-wide real push to bring this guy in. So Edu and Arteta are in the picture there with Declan at the Emirates, but it's not just been those two. Richard Garlick's been heavily involved. Vinay Venkatesan's been heavily involved. The two sort of family members of the ownership, Stan Kroenke, Josh Kroenke, both heavily involved as well. Big push from them. Tim Lewis involved. One of the big things from speaking to people around the club is how much of a joint effort this has been to bring Declan Rice in from West Ham. And at West Ham, they didn't like it. Their announcement was one of the few things I saw before I took off to Washington yesterday was their announcement, nice and early, not even mentioning Arsenal, I didn't think it was the classiest move in the world, I have to say. Bit of a weird one. They've been waiting ages. They said they were waiting ages, but like I said in a report that I put out for you guys on Thursday morning, just as I landed in Nuremberg, the plan was, there were never any concerns from an Arsenal perspective in terms of getting the deal done. I know West Ham was sort of briefing that they were worried about how long it was taking and potentially pulling the plug. But as far as I'm aware, there were never really any issues. It was just a case of Arsenal hitting send on those payments. And like I explained to you in my last video, they wanted to make sure they staggered the announcements of Timber, Rice, the game in Germany and all that kind of stuff. And that's why it ended up taking so long. So with Timber, it was a small issue in the contract. With Rice, it was just a case of waiting to get all that stuff done and filming his in-house media stuff. And he's obviously been away on holiday after England duty and training and all that stuff. So it's finally done. It's a great piece of business for Arsenal. A record fee for a British player, £105 million. Really, really a statement signing from Arsenal, who are showing here with this move that they're not gonna settle for second place. This is what I interpreted from this push to get a player as good as Declan Rice, and it's a position where Arsenal needed to strengthen, and we'll get into a little bit more why they may need to strengthen it even further. But it's a position where midfield, I think we all agree, probably the one area of the pitch from last season where Arsenal needed the most improvement, not necessarily for the starting 11, but for squad as a whole. And Declan Rice has come in, and Declan Rice is going to improve that. And they signed him primarily as a defensive midfielder. That's the plan. So he'll be a 6 mostly, but obviously versatility is a key part. He can play as an 8 as well. All that stuff's going to be key, and we'll see. Maybe there'll be games where Arsenal need to play with Jurrien and Rice, and maybe there'll be games where they play with just Rice or Partey and Rice or potential other signing and Rice. But the plan is to have him primarily as a defensive midfielder, and like I say, a real unified club effort. I think one of the things, because I struggle with this in the sense that because we've been knowing about it for so long and we've been talking about it since January, it almost feels like everything's been said that could be said. But one point I wanted to make, and one prescient point that really came to my mind when it was announced, was this time last year, July 16th, if we were doing these videos a year ago and I'd said to you guys, Arsenal were going to move for Declan Rice, I think a lot of people would have laughed at me. And I think there's a reason for that, in the sense that Arsenal were a long way back behind the chasing pack in terms of titles. They were not inside the Champions League. They were not a team that I think were considered one of the very sort of biggest punching of the big weights, if you know what I mean. They were a little bit further behind, and the progress the project is making in terms of they're stepping so much further forward that they're able to afford these players and they're able to bring these statement players in. And I've been a fan of Arsenal for many years before, and before I was a journalist, and I can't really remember a similar statement signing. People have said Sol Campbell, but Sol Campbell was a free transfer, and Arsenal didn't maybe need to financially push the boat out as much as they did when they got Declan Rice. With Declan Rice, there was competition from Man City, from Man United, from Bayern Munich, from Chelsea, as I mentioned before. So many teams wanted him, but it's Arsenal who have landed him. And I think that speaks to the kind of thing that Arsenal are building. And Rice referenced talking to some of the England players who he's been with. He referenced talking to Eddie Nketiah, he's been with since they were together at Chelsea under 9s. And I think people within the footballing community are speaking really highly of the project Arsenal have got going on right now. You talk to people across the game and they're very excited. They speak very highly of Eddie. They speak very highly of Arteta. And with all that stuff going on, you just start to think, wow, this is going in the right direction. And the sky is sort of the limit. And we get very excited about how much further this could go. I'm for one, I'm very excited by the signing. And Rice is on the plane to America. We're going to see him in an Arsenal shirt for the first time tomorrow, where there'll be open training, and that'll be very exciting. His first chance to retrain with his teammates. I'm not sure if they trained yesterday. I don't know if they did before they flew out. I know they got introduced, Rice and Timber, to the team yesterday with that lovely video that Arsenal put out, and I thought it was really nice. I think Arsenal, in terms of the social media side of things, really smashed these announcements as well. I think there's 2. And if you saw the Adidas video as well, that was quality. I really enjoyed that. Yeah, so lots of good stuff, lots of positives. I don't really know how else to frame this, because Declan Rice coming to Arsenal, as I said, is something we've been speaking about for such a long time that it feels like it's really heading in the right direction. So, good news for the project. Very excited to see him tomorrow. Very excited to hopefully speak to him across the course of this tour, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, out in America, everyone's very excited. And I think back home in London and across the world, everyone is very excited for this signing of Declan Rice. And of course, not the only signing Arsenal made, and there is Rice with his fellow signing, Jurrien Timber. The two of them together at the training ground, meeting each other for the first time, teammates for next season. Timber, another one where Arsenal, within the project, you can see what kind of signings they want to get. So they're bringing in young players, Timber and Rice, both under 25, as many of the signings in the past few years have been. But in both cases, players who've got lots of experience. They're not players who have never really played at the top level before. They're players have got, I think Rice got north of 200 appearances, Timber's got north of 100 appearances. And that kind of game experience is crucial if you want to come to a team like Arsenal. And I think psychologically up here that they're ready to come to a team like Arsenal. And I've spoken about Timber a bit on the channel in the past, and please, look back on videos to have a look at more in-depth discussions of him. But yeah, the plan is for him to be a right back, another one where Arsenal have identified a player who will improve a part of the squad. It was interesting to me that Ben White moved into centre back, and all those rumours about Rob Holding's future. Obviously, Besiktas put in a bid, and Rob Holding had a muscle injury that kept him out of the game in Nuremberg. You wonder if maybe the plan will be to sort of, in games where Timber comes in, if Ben White moves central, if let's say, God forbid, something happens to William Saliba again, that Ben White will be the option to go into the middle, and it'll be Timber who goes to right back. Or maybe it'll be Timber starting every game at right back. I don't know. But the exciting thing is the level of competition that's going to be there. And he spoke really well, and you talk about lovely announcement videos, a lovely goodbye video from Ajax. My God, I think I tweeted, like, if Hollywood are struggling for writers right now within the writer strike, go get the Ajax social media team. Unbelievable. If you haven't watched it, do finish watching this video and then go and watch it. It's unbelievable. Really lovely goodbye. And I think that speaks to how highly he was rated within Ajax, within Holland. A very talented player, a very technically gifted player, quick, defensively strong, good in 1v1 duels, has dealt with Erling Haaland in the Champions League as well. So he's a player who knows a little bit about potential Premier League opposition. I think he's just he adds a sense of strength to an area of the pitch where last season, particularly towards the end of the campaign, that right side of the defence, Arsenal struggled. And I think they've learned their lesson. They've quickly identified a replacement, and now they feel they can move on and challenge again. And I get asked a lot of the time, like, where do Arsenal have to improve the squad? What else do they have to do? And genuinely at this point, I'm struggling to think of areas that are necessary. Of course, you guys will disagree with me, and please do in the comment section, and please keep asking your questions in the comment section. But I wonder now, if Arsenal have got themselves into a position where they're so strong with the levels of the squad that maybe they feel they can start to challenge on multiple fronts. And obviously that's the plan, to challenge on multiple fronts, to challenge in the Premier League, challenge in the Champions League. And players like Timber, I think, maybe if they're not coming into the starting 11, they improve the squad as an overall, and that's massive. And obviously Timber can do that whole right-sided inverted thing. Zinchenko does it on the left-hand side, and that kind of stuff is obviously great for Arsenal in terms of options. They get lots of different options. And suddenly it's looking like this squad is really capable of challenging for multiple trophies. And, I don't want to get too excited. I don't want to get people too head over heels, but I'm very excited. I think this is going in the right direction from an Arsenal perspective, and the signings are very good. The signings are very exciting. To use a joke years ago, one of the last times I saw in America, be excited, because if you can't enjoy it now, when can you enjoy it? You're into Rice. Fantastic announcements for Arsenal. Fantastic additions to this squad. So those are the two transfers to talk about. That's the first time I really got a chance to talk to you about it. But with Arsenal, news moves on. News moves fast, and you don't really get a chance to settle. And one of the reasons I waited today to put out this video for, because I knew that the team would be flying out to America around 2, and I believe they're in the air now on their way to Washington on that lovely Emirates jet with the first class seats. Very nice. Very jealous, having flown in a very cramped plane over here. I got to see some good films, but I was very tight. I'm 6'6". I'm not used to these short conditions. I need a little bit more leg room. Sadly, I checked in late, so I couldn't get it. But you guys don't want to hear about that. What you guys want to hear about is the players who are on the squad. And interesting. So obviously the squad was announced, and I'll go through it. Let's read it all. Why not? From start to finish. So Aaron Ramsdale, William Saliba, Kieran Tierney, Ben White, Gabriel, Bukayo Saka, Martin Odegaard, Gabriel Jesus, Gabriel Martinelli, Jurrien Timber, Alex Runarsson, Eddie Nketiah, Jakob Kibior, Rob Holding, Takahiro Tomiyasu, Leo Trossard, Jorginho, Fabio Vieira, Mohamed Elneny, Flo Balogun, Marquinhos, Kai Havertz, Karl Hein, Austin Trusty, Alex Zinchenko, Declan Rice, and Mario Cozier-Dubry. So the eagle-eared and eagle-eyed amongst you looking at this picture of the squad on there as they're about to get on the plane on the steps will have noticed that there's a few players missing. Now, the big player missing in that group is Thomas Partey. I've been told that he is someone who is being kept in London and expected to join up with them next week. Now, obviously, you can't look at the Thomas Partey absence without taking into account these stories that have come into play that he's apparently agreed terms or close to agreeing terms with the move to a Saudi Arabian team. Now, teams from Italy are also interested. I know Juventus are interested, and I don't know if they've agreed personal terms or if they've got anything in the works on that front, but I don't know. It seems an interesting one that he's not made it because he played in Nuremberg, and I thought he looked really good in the first half as well, actually. And he was involved in the training camp throughout the week, and it does make you think that unless he's picked up an injury, which I haven't been told he's picked up an injury, and if they're planning for him to join up next week, then that would suggest that he's not really picked up a serious injury. Because if it was a minor injury, like it is with Odegaard, Tomiyasu Martinelli, Trossard, Holding, Zinchenko, etc., they probably would have taken him out. So that would suggest that it's not an injury. You wonder what's going on there. You can't ignore the fact that Thomas Partey has been linked with moves away. If he were to leave, then that would obviously create a bit of a transfer scramble, and where are Arsenal going to look to potentially replace him, because I don't think they would be happy with not having another midfielder in the group. But yeah, he's one player who's out. He's not travelling to the States, but they say they want him, or they say they expect him there in a week's time. So that would, I guess, bring him there in time for the game in either New Jersey or LA, but not 100% sure when that would be. Emile Smith Rowe also isn't in the group initially, but as I reported last week, he's cutting short his holiday to join up with the group, and that will happen later this week. So I don't exactly know the specific date of when he'll join, but he will be joining. And he's keen to grab his chance after playing really well for England in the Euro Under-21s, where he won the competition. Other players not involved. Nuno Tavares, he is on holiday, so he will be staying on holiday. That's what I've been told. I know he's someone who's not in the plans really at Arsenal going forward, and he would like to stay in the Premier League, and there's lots of teams potentially interested, although nothing formal as far as I'm aware. And I've been told the reason for his absence is the fact that he's on holiday. So, yeah, he's not involved in the squad. I'll get the picture up of the travelling team, actually. Who else isn't there? Albert Sambi Lokonga, injured. Nicola Pepe, injured. Two players also being linked with moves away. You wonder what's going on there. Arthur Okonkwo is closer to a move, or closing in on a move, so he isn't involved. He also wasn't involved in the trip to Nuremberg, which is, I think, something I mentioned in my live where the sound wasn't working at the Max Morlock Stadium. But yeah, he isn't there, as he's edging closer to a move. And I put all this in an article on Football London, and I'll put that in the notes for this as well. What else is going on? Yes, Reece Nelson, another player absent from the tour. Arsenal's line on that is that he is someone who is recovering from... so all the players who are not involved are recovering from injury and or working on their fitness. And I've put it to them in terms of specifics about Reece, and they just sort of... the line has come back. So that's the explanation. I think with Reece, it might be an injury. I've seen reports that it is an injury. So, yeah, we'll have to see on that front. Sad for him, because he looked, again, pretty good in Nuremberg, and I thought he was someone who would play quite a big role in this preseason tour. But you would assume the player's replacement in the squad is Mario Koscielny. Koscielny, it's my understanding, was always going to come on this tour anyway. He's someone who wasn't included in Nuremberg, but Roy Walters, Ethan Waneri, Miles Lewis-Skelly were. Now, those three are not coming to America, but it's my understanding that it was sort of communicated to them that they get Germany, Koscielny gets America, if that makes sense. And Koscielny is someone who's really impressed for the 21s last season, was also in the 18s team that made it to the FA Youth Cup final. A very talented player, very talented youngster, winger, who can also play in the middle. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. It's, again, quite an experienced team from Arteta. I don't love all of that, in the sense that there's some players in this group who their futures are away from the team. I wonder if maybe Roy Walters could have been brought an Austin Trusty. Austin Trusty is someone who is attracting lots of interest from teams in the Championship. He wants them to play in the Premier League, but currently lots of interest in the Championship, lots of interest in him. A very talented player who was Birmingham City's player of the season last year, and Arsenal are open to selling him permanently, as I've reported in the past. But he's gone, and Roy Walters has stayed behind. And I don't know. It's an interesting one, that interesting decision. Arteta did something similar last year, where he bought Lucas Torreira, and Charlie Patino stayed behind, and he bought Runarsson, and Okonkwo stayed behind. And there were lots of those where you're just like, could have brought a few youngsters maybe along. But Arteta wants to work with an experienced group, and he wants to work with this team who are going to be, I guess, ideally part of the squad going into next season. And I guess it's the reality of having such a big squad that Arsenal have now. And people, again, like I say, keep asking, who are Arsenal bringing in? What's the plan for transfers? But I think right now it's a case of trying to get a few players out the door. And we see this in terms of the deals that Arsenal are having to do to get rid of players. So, yeah, that's kind of the big news right now. I'm sure you guys have heard a lot of Declan Rice stuff, a lot of Jurrien Timber stuff. But I wanted to give you a bit of update on the travelling tour and the latest that we know on that front. So I hope that has sort of answered it. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to your questions today, I'm afraid, but I will be sure to answer more of them tomorrow. My plan is to give you hopefully daily videos like this across the tour. So I don't know. I hope the weather will be a little bit better so I can maybe do some more exciting locations and not look like I'm in a hostage situation. But if I'm back here tomorrow, I'll be sure to be on for you guys and getting you videos out there. In the meantime, please do keep liking, subscribing to the channel. Please do keep getting involved. Please do keep getting your questions in the comment section because I do love them and I do try to answer them as often as possible. So I will try and get to many more of them tomorrow where hopefully I'll have a little bit of time to do that. But tomorrow's going to be exciting. There's lots of stuff going on. We've got open training. So the first time we'll see Jurrien Timber and Declan Rice live, if you like, in Arsenal shirts and Arsenal training kits. And I'll be bringing you coverage of that across my social media platforms and across the Football London social media platforms, as well. So very exciting times. Also, some fan stuff going on. I believe there's a fan block party in America over here. So that should be exciting too in Washington. So it's going to be a fun day tomorrow. And I'm going to go now. I'm going to explore a bit of Washington. I'm going to do a bit more work as well because there's lots of work to be getting done out here. And I'm going to keep making sure I'm doing that. But for now, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for liking, subscribing, all that kind of stuff. And I'll be back tomorrow with a little bit more. So speak to you then. Cheers, guys, and bye-bye.